presumably, unless something crazy happens, the final part of a three-part epic live build that we have done over the DeLorean here. And man, oh man, am I excited to get this thing done. Um, really enjoyed building this. Had a really great time so far. We just have to get a few of those final little pieces out of the way, and we are ridiculously close to finishing our build. And of course, we only have a couple of numbered bags to go. We only have bag number 10 here, and then there are two bag number 11s. Part of what we're going to be doing is looking at not only the finishing of this build, but also looking at the ways that you can then convert it between the Back to the Future 2 version of the DeLorean and the Back to the Future 3 version. So we're going to have a lot of fun looking at those different permutations. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First of all, Doc and Marty have been assaulted constantly during this and knocked over every which way. So I'm going to try to get them out of harm's way if at all possible, get them way back there. And it looks like a whole lot of our build at the start is going to be on the back here. We're going to focus on this. Let's go ahead and get a little bit of a higher angle so you guys can see what I'm doing just a little bit easier. And we'll go to the side as we usually do. All right. Bag number 10. Go. I think most people would agree that their favorite version of the car, like if you look at a base version of the DeLorean, is probably the original first movie, the classic. Just the classic look for the DeLorean. For me, the answer is a little more complicated. I like some of the futuristic-y things that they do to it in Back to the Future 2. And then I like the story version of why they do certain things to it in Back to the Future 3. So, I don't know. That's like asking me to pick between my, can't say children, but pick between my cats. There we go. That's what we'll say. Oh, pieces rolling around. It's funny, there's a whole lot of pink here, partially because we're going to be building a hoverboard, I believe, with this bag. And boy, oh boy, don't we all wish that we'd gotten a real hoverboard in 2015. You know, they tried to market something called a hoverboard, but that wasn't a hoverboard. Not the way we know it in Back to the Future. It's also worth noting that from your bag of extra pieces, you're going to need these. So you're going to have those cables that run along the sides of the DeLorean. I'm sure that someone is probably going to do some kind of mock of this where you can just convert it into a standard regular old DeLorean, which I'm sure wouldn't be that difficult. I mean, you would just basically be taking some pieces off. You might have to have a few filler pieces, but I mean, most of just a regular DeLorean car is here, so I don't see any reason why you couldn't easily figure that out, even on your own. You probably wouldn't even need a guide to do it. You could just swap some pieces here and there, and it would probably be a real innocuous kind of just common sense sort of thing where you're swapping out pieces. So, all right, we got this. There's all sorts of little fiddly bits on the DeLorean that as you watch the movie, you're just never really going to notice that much. And it's only when you're building a model, some kind of replica like this, that you're ever going to really pay close attention to that. Unless you're, an absolute super fan. And in that case, that's, a whole lot more about the car than I do. Of course, there's people who, just like with Ghostbusters and all of that, with Ecto-1, there's people who commonly, they'll buy a DeLorean and they'll try their best to get it to look like the Back to the Future version. And for those people, all of these details are just, they live with those details in their heads. For me, though, and I think for most people, it's not, I can't quite recall all this little bits of minutia like in the back of the DeLorean. But it's always fun for me to go back and, just like I said in my Home Alone McAllister house review, it's always fun for me to go back after I've built something and kind of be like, okay, how accurate was this? And I always pay more attention to the thing, whatever it was that I built. I end up paying a dramatic amount more attention to it as I go. Because then when I revisit the movie, it feels like I built part of the props or something for it. And yeah, that may sound a little cheesy. I'm just talking about a Lego set, but you still feel like you crafted something that is supposed to look just like it. So it causes you to pay a little more attention. Modicum of attention is paid like that. Looks like for this, we're building some of the, I think we're building some of like the sides of the back where there's all those cords and everything hooked up. That's an iconic part of the car. I've always liked it that the DeLorean looked like it was kind of held together with a little bit of like a few cords, and it's like it's barely holding together. I don't know. I've always enjoyed that. Always been a fun aspect of the whole deal. All right. Okay. Got that. It definitely appears that there's not a huge amount of pieces for this bag, or at least not large pieces. But just looking, they're all like tiny little pieces, or at least most of them are tiny little pieces. So it ends up being a little deceptive because you look at it and you think that, well, this won't take very long. Well, actually, there's quite a bit more here than you can actually perceive at first. Quite a bit more. Okay. Building the side of this, you would almost think you would just be laying down the big flat pieces, but no. There's a lot of hookups here for different techie bits and things, so you've got to put the little stud flats that have like, one of the receiving studs on it, so you can actually hook the stuff up. Just my light where you can hopefully see what I'm doing just a little bit better. I think I was in a little bit of shadow there, so that helps slightly. Hopefully my audio is working. I'm always a little iffy about that because every now and then I've had a few little glitches with the live stream. So if someone could let me know that my audio is working, I would appreciate it. Just so that I know I'm coming across. Because you never know with this stuff. I've been unpleasantly surprised before I went back and realized the live stream that no one could even hear me talking. So sometimes it's a little bit of an unfortunate circumstance. Fit it in there. Of course, we're probably going to be repeating some of these steps for the other side here in just a minute, but everything's going to be mirrored, of course. Of course. There we go. Lay this to the side for a second, and then we'll do another little part of this build. Oops. Not quite. There. There we go. Okay. And then we have a row of these gray wedges, so a little bit more of the monotonous here as we just keep doubling these over. It's the fun part of the build that everybody loves. And one of the little gray wedges to just top it off right there. There we go. This is going to hook to our piece that we've already fabricated here. Get that hooked in. Oh yeah, starting to get kind of a contraption going here. All right, I've got to turn it over, and you can see that this little piece that sticks up is going to go into that little grabber right there, the little black grabber. So, click. Everything fits together nicely, and that's what's going to give that angle that it needs, you know, on the side, or else it won't do the slope. So, what a cool little technique, by the way. I feel like a lot of this was probably pioneered in different Lego Star Wars sets. I'm not much of a Lego Star Wars guy because there's no way to get it all. And I'm Mr. Completist for the themes I get into, so for better or worse. For worse, a lot of the time. Definitely for worse. All right. Turn this guy around right here. There we go. Whoops. Can't do that. We get some little transparent blue sections, which I think are meant to simulate the light up portions on the sides as it rolls through there. Hopefully my video and my audio are coming across pretty clear, trying different things with it. So you'll have to let me know in the chat there if I'm coming across, if you can see and hear all right, and everything's moving along okay. Put one too many right there. Go ahead and get one. Okay, very nice. The blue, the trans blue there looks fantastic. It's going to be something that really, I think, is highlighted on the final build. I think it's just going to stand out so well against that matte gray. It's going to be fantastic looking. All right. So, and then we have some drum lacquered silver here. Let's go ahead and get those connected. And that's going to start a nice little organic curve right there. It's going to look great when it's done. And then we just continue the curve with some of the smaller drum lacquered pieces. These are the pieces Lego, you know, they don't want to give too many of them out, right? I imagine that little extra step is cost a couple of extra cents per piece. So Lego's careful not to give you too much right there. Which is, of course, the reason why, seeing the set, obviously they decided not to go with the silver for the whole vehicle. I guess I would have drove up the price or something, so they just went with the flat gray, which is fine. But you know, I guess it would be a little more accurate if it actually had the silver, right? Not something Lego would actually do, but yeah, you can dream, I guess. Okay, I think I've got those on there. Yeah, all right, we're ready to lay it to the side, or connect it to the side, should I say, of the DeLorean. Truly, the DeLorean, the Back to the Future Time Machine DeLorean is I mean, it's just a masterstroke, right, of design. It's just beautiful. Just got to make sure I'm doing this right, because this thing is actually going to plug in to this little receiver down here. So well, I'm knocking things out of place. Okay. Well, if it's not already obvious, I feel like I'm having a little bit of technical difficulty with trying to fit this in while also trying to clear this thing. It makes me wonder if I put this on a little backwards. I think there's a possibility, but I'm not 100% sure about that just yet. Let's see. Just want to make sure. Maybe I have it a little off, perhaps. Let's see. No, it's definitely correct. At least I believe it is. Let's try it again. because this little thing is supposed to go into that little receiver. And maybe, I think that helped. Oh, there's another receiver over here that I was ignoring. You guys see that right there? That's where this other side has to plug into. Maybe if I plug that in first, because I didn't see that at first. I'll bust the whole thing open. Let's see. So if I take this, and this has to stick through over here. So if you're trying to like fight against that, you're not going to get it close enough to make the connection. Okay, there's one side, there's the other. All right, that was it. For anybody building this at home, you've got to make sure this is angled down to go through the window. If it's not, it's going to press against it, and you're not going to be able to get it actually flush in there. So look at that. I'll mess up so you don't have to. How about that? All right, let's turn it around the other way. And I believe we're going to be doing very similar steps for the other part of this. But first, a little bit more, and I like how they've broken this up because they have a little bit more of the design work, the little extra techie bits on the top. What would I do without the term techie bits? I use it constantly in my reviews. For any like superfluous detail or fake technology detail or just detail for the sake of detail, I'm always saying techie bits. I don't know if I started hearing other YouTubers say that and then I just caught on to it. I have no idea, but I say it constantly. I always try to be aware of things I repeat. Unfortunately, it doesn't always work. It's like when I'm editing a review and I realize that I'll constantly say something like, and you can see, and as you can see, hey Firewall, how you doing? I'm doing very well. Well, this is the actual last bag. This is bag number 10 of the main build. But bag number 11, I think, is dedicated to transforming it into the Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 3 versions. So I think, you know, there's quite a, it's going to be done in its main form, but there's other things to explore. There's other versions where we can switch out some parts and turn it into the Back to the Future 3 version, the Back to the Future 2 version, all that good stuff. So there's just a little bit more, and we'll see the main model complete. But this should be the final part of our live stream, you know, unless the apocalypse happens, you know, just little things. I was reading a Reddit thread yesterday, and I get sucked into Reddit threads every now and then. You know what? No, this wasn't a Reddit thread. This was on Twitter, I think, and it was really interesting. I'll talk about that in a minute. Oh yeah, Motormaster. Yeah. I had just seen the packaging art for Motormaster, and was taken aback by how cool the packaging looked, but I actually didn't see the actual toy. What was it like? Yeah, okay. So it is the box art. Okay. I saw that earlier in a group and I was like, "Wait a minute, did I miss something?" Like cuz I thought does everybody else have they already seen Motormaster, because we knew of course he'd be a thing. I mean, duh, right? If they're going to do Venusaur. But I was very pleasantly surprised to see it. And it looks epic too. Like it actually has the cab and everything, and I was pretty excited about it. Yeah. Honestly, Motormaster is one of the combiners that could really actually use a glow up. Like if anybody could. So many people like me never had a Motormaster that actually had corrected hips. Right. Yeah, that would be That would be a shame if if they can't keep Motor Master under wraps for like 3 more days. Maybe they tightened up. Maybe they threatened that British kid. They're like, they told him they're gonna sick the Queen on him or something. That would be great. The Queen receives this formal complaint from Hasbro. He's stealing the Transformers. You know, maybe they should let that British kid start hosting the reveal events so that he can talk about how much he loves it, because he loves everything. I mean, I guess people could accuse me of the same thing on my channel because I tend to I tend to love everything. And the times when I am critical about a figure, when I am critical about a toy, everybody dogpiles on me and gets mad. So go figure, right? Yep, everybody gets mad. Everybody's like, "What? Are you serious? Don't you dare feel that way. What would that toy ever do to you?" Never underestimate people's propensity for hate comments. Like years after the fact, I'll get these comments like years and years and years like later, and I'll be like, "Dude," and they'll like be trying to correct me on things that like have come out since then. And I'm like, "Did you look at when this was uploaded?" Right. Yeah. Usually that's just a fact of production, right? That's just like yeah. Well, you know, this is as soon as we can get this done from reveal to what you actually see. Usually it's just it's a production thing. But every now and then, it's not so, I guess. So this is interesting. I didn't have to attach this silver part until it was over the wire to make it more accurate. So that's actually really neat that we actually have an overlapping piece like that in the detail right there. So that's pretty cool. I have to hand it to them on that one. Oh, and it looks like we have the same thing going on down here with tailpipe detail or some kind of exhaust. I'm not 100% sure. I'm not a car guy, so I just don't know. All right. Oh, it's going to take 4 of these. Sorry, I had it wrong. Let's try that again. Okay. Then I'm going to take this, and I was wrong to leave the wire down here through the little grabber because it turned out this thing was supposed to go through the grabber. So if you saw me do that earlier, that was a little snafu on my part. There we go. And then this will go in here, I think. I hope. Or not. Whoops. I'm accidentally kicking out the stands off of this thing. Let's try this again. Oh, it's the other way. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. So it does go that way, and you know what? I was right the first time. The wire actually does go into the grabber. I think it's meant to simulate looking like it's coming out of the pipe, and that's why there's a grabber piece to make it look like it's just leading right out of there. Okay, yeah, that's accurate, I do believe. Huh. Color me confused, I guess. Or not. This is I have a few gaffes during Lego live streams, but I have to say this one takes the cake. Yeah, I've messed it up a little on this part because it turns out I wasn't paying much attention to the actual instruction booklet. So Oh man. Yeah, I've definitely considered that. I saw it at, I guess it was at GameStop a little while back, and then it disappeared. I was gonna get it one time, and they had sold it. Gigawatt, I believe, was his name, and he was a cool looking little transformer. I don't think it was as neat looking as some of the other crossovers that they did, but I still really liked the thing. Yeah, I thought it was pretty nice actually. So it's something that I'll probably end up getting um, eventually. I still need to get the Jurassic Park crossover, which looked really cool. All right, definitively, I told you guys wrong the whole time. Basically, you have to attach a little black piece, then it goes in the way I was trying to put it, then this thing goes in, and the wire goes down under it. So, color me crazy, I guess. All right, let's get it back on there. Okay. All right, now, looks like we're ready to kind of do the same thing, only on the other side. And this will help complete out all of those details. We start the process just the same with a little flat panel right there. We got that. And some of the lighter. Really? Wow. I wouldn't have ever imagined that. Lego, the biggest consumer of rubber tires. Well, I think Lego has been under some pressure because they're one of the bigger consumers of fossil fuels in some ways. And like for materials, you know, for toys or whatever. Because I can only imagine the amount of oil that it takes to produce Lego bricks. So I think, oh, is it due because of like their nightly fireworks displays? Is that and different movie sets and things? I would assume that's what it would be. That's interesting facts, though. Yeah, very interesting. I didn't know either one of those. I think Lego has been trying to create something like a sustainable Lego brick for a while, like something that you can like the kind of brick that would yeah, the kind of brick that is made out of like biodegradable or something, or reused materials or recycled materials or recycled paper. And I think they're trying to figure that out. I don't know if they can actually figure that out. I mean, God bless them. I hope that they can. But plastic is kind of a fact of the modern world. I don't know how you necessarily walk away from it at this point. It's kind of, we've come so far in different advancements, especially in the medical field, where plastic is essential. You can't really, once you open that box, it's really hard to close it because that's the modern world. So at least that's my view. Yeah, we're wrecking the environment, but I don't know how we turn back on our present course. And honestly, individuals can make changes that are good, and we all should make changes. But at the same time, just one corporation will cancel out thousands of people's small changes that they make in one day. So all of that stuff, if we want to make any kind of environmental impact, has to start at a corporate and government level. Individuals can only do so much. Yeah, those are kind of like receiving studs that are more meant to. It's kind of like an inverted stud, right? So you're able to like plug in a way. It's kind of it's weird. It's one of those things. I'm not the guy probably that would know the exact answer on that, but it's strange. It's like those that aren't filled in are like can fill in like the bottoms of certain pieces. It's weird. It's funny though. It's one of those things that I didn't question that much. Like I just kind of just see it and say, okay, I guess it's that way. But yeah, it's a pretty good question actually. Now that I think of it, the more I try to explain it, the less my explanation makes any sense. It's like, yeah, don't know what I'm talking about. All right, putting this together, and we can see that we're going to eventually make that triangle frame, kind of truss. Now, I've not been reading them, but throughout the entire instruction manual, there's been little facts that they keep popping up on each, every like 10 pages or something. There's little facts about the DeLorean or about the production of the movie. And I've not been reading them because, nobody wants to watch a live stream where somebody's sitting there quietly reading something and then says, oh. Uh, but they've been there, and that is really cool. I'm going to go back and definitely check all of those out. Yeah, it's a pretty thick manual, so got here's the manual, and I'll try to keep my place at the same time. It's fairly thick, and I'll show you where they have a little, little things like this. Here's one of the facts. Liquid nitrogen was poured onto the car for the first time travel scenes to give the impression that it was cold. Ah, that's cool. Yeah, I've always noticed in those scenes that that the car, looks like it has that kind of film on it, so. I'm trying to remember the name of the mall. Is it the Twin Pines? Twin Pines Mall? Is that where Marty and Doc test out the DeLorean for the first time? Twin Pines? Maybe that's right. I think it still exists. I'm not sure if the mall is open, but you can go to the parking lot and kind of, if you want to, you can recreate the exact angles and the shots that they had when they were in the parking lot, and the Iranians, I think they were the Iranians, came to, I'm not sure if I'm getting the nationality wrong there. Maybe it was a made-up nationality. Maybe I don't even remember. I know that, spoiler alert for a movie everybody's seen, but I know that of course, they fix this in the movie where it doesn't happen, but I've always felt that it was kind of jarring in the first Back to the Future when you see Doc getting gunned down by those terrorists. Like, it feels like the movie takes a real serious turn. It always kind of jarred me a little bit. But you know what? Movies today maybe they're a little safe, a little too aware of not making their audience uncomfortable. So I think that actually helps the stakes of the movie when you see something that serious happen to Doc, this character who you've instantly kind of grown attached to and is instantly very lovable. I think that instantly ups everything. Like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, he's Marty, you got to figure this out. This is bad. These guys are serious. So having real stakes in a movie, that's something that Hollywood seems to forget. All right, once again, we'll do this. And I really like this. For some reason, this has been one of the most satisfying parts of the build, is snapping this together to make the triangular frame. I don't know why that's so cool, but to me it is, that you've got this thing, just looking at it from the outside, you're like, well, Legos don't do that. Well, that's because there's a little magic trick going on in here, how it's snapping together. So I love those little Lego magic tricks, because that's what it is, a little bit of Lego magic right there. All right, lay this to the side and do a little bit more construction. Set this right here, and we're pretty well repeating what we did last time. We're just doing it on the inverse, and since my mind doesn't operate like that, I'm glad that I have a book that's showing me each and every step. I remember somebody joined one of my live streams one time and asked me, if I was just free building or if I was using a book. And I felt like a con artist because I never once assumed that anybody would think that I was, actually like free building some kind of like really complex model. And I was sure to just instantly put the book up there and say, no, 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 I don't know how to, I wouldn't know how to do this. But I actually, it was a funny feeling because somehow I felt dishonest. It was like, because I can't really keep the book in frame while I'm doing it. It's not very comfortable. I have to have the book like in my lap while I'm trying to get the camera to the side and then trying to build on the front of it. And you don't want to accidentally deceive someone that you're a master builder. You're a Lego master, just like in the TV show. You're a Lego master. I like the Lego Masters TV show. I think it's pretty fun. My wife gets enjoyment out of it too. She watches it, and she's not a Lego person really, but she thinks it's really funny, and she's always interested in what people are building. Honestly, Lego Masters ends up having the same appeal as like that. Like, what if you were watching Nailed It, that Netflix show, where the people do a really bad job on that on the food and the cakes? But what if they knew what they were doing, kind of thing. However, I'm a big proponent that I have an idea for an absolute killer of a TV show. And why not do Nailed It, except it's like bricked. Let's call it bricked, maybe. And it's about people who have no idea how to utilize Lego. And just like in Nailed It, they show them this impossible kind of like thing to build. And they get a time limit and they they end up, trying their best to build this thing, and with, I'm sure, hilarious results. You could even take someone like me, who I'm a huge Lego fan. I mean, obviously, duh, I'm doing a live stream about it. But when it comes to free building, I don't know what I'm doing. Like you could build Lego sets all day and not necessarily know how to free build your own stuff. That's a whole nother skill set. You're looking for that, it's the other guy on the channel, Brandon. My best friend, he knows how to free build. I don't know how to do that. I'm just following the instruction manual. It's, to me, it's just like a model kit. I'm putting together a model kit, only it's Lego. So I could definitely be featured on the Bricked It. That's what I'm gonna call it. Bricked It. You can work out the legal details with Netflix so they don't get sued. I don't know. Could you really sue somebody over that? I mean, it's a pretty generic concept. Here, do this thing, do it poorly so that people get a laugh out of it. that's a that's a generic concept. I'm not sure if Netflix can copyright that necessarily. All right, maybe I'll do a less bad job of putting this side in. Maybe. There we go. Here, heard the click. Heard the click. Okay, it amazes me how secure these sides are, because they really are. They're super secure. Didn't think that would be a thing at all, but it is. Now, is that right? Yeah, that comes out like that. Okay, just making sure. It looked like it was coming out a little far to me. Okay, so that's attached, and time for me to do the other side of the funny little techie bit. There, I said it again. How about faux detail? Maybe that's a better piece of terminology for me to pick up. Faux detail. Maybe we got some faux detail going on here. Oh, boy. All right, got that. Got a little. I tried this one time, and it's a funny story because most people probably aren't even aware of it. But I think most people know about the mini mates. Mini mates are kind of like plussed up Lego minifigures that are done by another company. They're done by Diamond Select now. They used to be done by a little company called Art Asylum before I think they were absorbed into Diamond Select, the uh, comic book merchandise retailer. But anyway, they attempted to venture into building sets. And they did this so that they could start putting their DC Comics license in minifigs. And at the time, of course, Lego had never had the DC Comics license. There was no such thing as a Lego Batman. This was probably 2004, maybe it was a little earlier than that. Either way, um, they started doing these sets. Some of them were based on Justice League Unlimited. Some of them were based on, yeah, yeah. He did a little bit of that, and I think it was for The Walking Dead, if I remember right, when that used to be his cash cow. Well, they tried this, but oh my gosh, whatever Chinese company they partnered with to do the bricks to make these, and they were really quite bad. I got the Batcave set at Big Lots, so it was on clearance. And whatever Chinese company they partnered with to do these bricks, they were awful. They wouldn't actually hold together. And I remember there was a base plate that you were supposed to put together for this bat cave, and to say it was a disaster trying to get the thing to hold together is an understatement. The base plate would not plug in to the rest of the bat cave no matter what I did, and of course we all know that, yeah, you've got a little problem if your base plate isn't gonna hook in. So I thought, okay, what can I do? This was before I collected Lego at all. Hadn't bought a Lego set since I was little, and so I decided to glue it. And so I was getting crazy glue and trying to glue it in there. That didn't work out very well for me. I kind of learned a lesson there, that what ended up happening, because I was only 15 or so at the time, 14 or 15. What ended up happening was the glue, which I had never really worked with that much before, would ooze out of the parts as I would press them together, because maybe I used a little too much. And it was kind of a mess. So I saw that and I said, well, maybe that's not such a good thing to attempt to glue down any of that. So, and I eventually I think I sold the Batcave set when the minifig that it came with, not minifig, but the mini mate that it came with was actually fairly valuable. So somebody just wanted it for that, and they didn't care that the pieces were glued in or whatever to the actual set. Nobody wanted those. But it was interesting, let me tell you. It was the Wild West days of off-brand, third-party, whatever you want to call it, uh, like Lego competitors. Didn't didn't work out very well for me. So I've always, ever since then, I've been really gun shy about ever trying something like that again. So it's a long story short. I'm not gonna, not gonna try that one anytime soon. In the Lego movie, the Will Ferrell character, Lord Business, the actual dad, in the movie, because Lord Business is the dad in the live action segments. It shows him and he's gluing together Lego sets, and I guess there's people that do that, but I was always kind of like, do a lot of people do that? Because just judging by the fan community online and on YouTube, I don't really see people glue together Lego sets. That almost seems to be like something that would just be crazy, right? Like people would see that and be like, "What are you doing? Stop it!" So I've always thought that little bit of the Lego movie was maybe written in maybe with a little less of an understanding about what AFOLs actually do with their Lego sets. Maybe there wasn't quite enough awareness, but maybe they just wanted to show that this guy was, I don't know, like hyper vigilant about the Lego set being perfect. So you're supposed to look at it and be like, oh, well, why are you gluing together a Lego set? Maybe that was the purpose. Yeah, yeah, yeah. With model kits, that's a whole other thing, right? Because you can glue together panels, yeah, to get them to be a more solid fit, like you said. And that's totally different because if you're just doing that, you don't lose any functionality. You're just making your model more secure. That's all you're doing. You're not doing something awful or doing something crazy. But with Lego sets, the nature of Lego is so different than a model kit because Lego is a system, right? So you've got this system of interlocking bricks and pieces that are meant to be disassembled and reassembled in different configurations, with some functions of some Lego sets being dependent on you being able to disassemble it and reassemble it a different way, or like, you know, some customization options. Like there's some things that you would have to be able to do that for. So to me, it almost betrays the nature of the brand a little bit. So that's why it feels wrong to me to glue the Lego together. Whereas with a model kit, you're literally just finishing something out. And I've glued things together in model kits before and have no qualm with it whatsoever. Very different thing in a way. So even though I talk about how I view Lego kind of more like model kits in some ways, there's other ways that I don't see them as the same thing. And I guess that must be one of the ways. Oh, I like this. Yeah, that's really nice how you actually have the tubing there that goes to the big thrusters in the back. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. All right, a little bit more of the... We're almost through this bag completely. We have a little bit more to do for the little techie part. That's right, I didn't say techie bits. Techie part. Faux detail on the top. Because there's all sorts of weird instrumentation going on the top of the DeLorean. Like weird faux technology and silly stuff they just kind of slap together to make it look like... I don't know how the DeLorean ends up looking so cool. In theory, it should be a really dorky idea, right? But the design of the thing ends up being really special. But in theory, like if someone described it to you, got this, you're going to take a sports car and you're going to hook it up with aftermarket accessories and say that it can go through time, that it seems kind of stupid. But I have no idea why it works as well as it does. It's one of those things. Most great designs, if someone would describe it to you, you would instantly be like, seriously? That sounds awful. But to see it, there's a certain level of alchemy. There's a certain level of magic that occurs somehow. I don't know. I don't know why, and I don't know where. But it does. And here we're taking a yellow park bench and attaching it to asphalt. Look at that. Wonderful. When you're micro building, that's a whole nother world, right? The micro scale, that's another world. Something I'm afraid to dip my toe into, because I feel like if I do that, then I'm gonna open up a whole nother can of worms. I'll be taking out loans. Uh, can I borrow against the equity of my house, please? I need more Legot. Legot got me. So I think this is going to go somewhere in the front of the car. This is the funny, I think the engine block or whatever. I think that's what it is. We'll see what it is. Curious about what this is going to end up being. Okay, we got that little section made. We are almost out of pieces for bag number 10, and I think what I didn't realize is that the front hood of the car is probably all those pieces are contained in bag 11 and not bag number 10. And I think that's because there's differences throughout the movies on what the hood looks like. So they put all the pieces in the customization step to where it's like, okay, now build the DeLorean that you want to. Here's the hood pieces for the first movie. Here's the hood pieces for the second and the third. Because especially in the third, things are very different as they've rigged up. As they've rigged it up to do lots of different things. Okay. All right, and then we have a little sticker. What is this here? Yeah, this is the plutonium. Yeah, this is, yeah, that's what we're building, the little plutonium container. So Doc stole the plutonium from terrorists. You know, it really saddens me to think about how that could be something like trying to get like weapons material away from terrorists and stealing it for like a time machine. That was a funny gag, you know, in the 80s, but now you couldn't. I would say a writer would probably be told by a studio, yeah, can you take out the part about the terrorists wanting to use it or something like that? Like that seems, it's really sad that that became a real concern. Um, you know, just the world changed. Of course, a lot of times movies predict things like this, and imagination is a lot of times the best predictor of the future. All right, we have more of that plutonium cover with all of those warning labels on it. Oh, this is funny. I forgot all about this little detail. I really did. It wasn't something I was like thinking, okay, when are we going to do the plutonium container? I'll be honest, I really didn't think they would do it. I just thought that it would just be the hood and, you just enclose it and then it was over. Little extra bits like this shows so much TLC, that tender love and care that Lego has when they work with these beloved licenses and beloved characters. That's why I'm always really excited when they get a license like this, because Lego is going to go to the extra mile, if it's an 18 plus set especially. They're going to go to that extra level of care to make sure that it's authentic, to make sure that they're covering all their bases, that every possible detail and every little thing that they could do, or maybe just a funny idea, that all of that is taken care of. So just seeing that love, seeing the care that they put in, it that's what elevates Lego in my mind. It's a better product. It's a better company. Now, one thing I can already tell is that this was cut just a little tiny bit off center. The sticker was, which is always a concern with me in Lego sticker sheets. So I'm gonna have to. Well, you know what? Maybe it wasn't. I think my placement was a little off. Yeah, that was my placement. Sorry, Lego. Didn't mean to talk bad about you. Yeah, my placement was just a little off. Never ever stick down the other end of the sticker until you are satisfied with the placement, because you're asking for a world of hurt when you do that. People act like there's a lot of great methods to remove Lego stickers. I'm here to tell you that there isn't a lot of great methods to remove Lego stickers. There's almost always a compromise. There's almost always something you sacrifice to remove that sticker and to reposition it. I've watched videos about it. I've seen people showing their little methods and tricks and things. All of them end up scarring the sticker, scarring the decal. It almost always ends in some form of disaster. So I want to caution everyone not to play around with that, because you'll end up, a lot of times you just you make it worse. You damage it to a point. There we go. That looks nice. Yeah. That would be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be great if they just did that? And it's something that adult fans of Lego have complained about for ages. That's like the most common, complaint that there is. This set was pretty reasonably priced for what it was, because it's $160, and to be this size, because it's in a 1/12 scale, that's pretty good, especially with the part count that you get. So I don't have any complaints about the price. Lego, as we all know, is very expensive, but the quality that you're getting more than justifies any kind of absorbent price. It's the quality is really it's really second to none. So I can't be mad over that. Oh yeah, look at that. This plutonium box is fantastic. Look at this. it actually opens and you see oh, isn't this great? Just like in the movie. However, of course, the minifigs that are just ceremonial here, that you just get them to put with your other Lego stuff, that's not that's not accurate. This is accurate to a 6-inch scale, not a 2-inch scale. So this is a 1/12 scale model right here. And what's great, see, I was a little confused at first, but now I understand that I was a little confused about this when I first did it, but now knowing that they actually did the plutonium case, this is where it gets put. So it's very accurate to the film. You have a little compartment that you actually stick the thing, and I think that's great. You can even open it up if you want to in there, so you can see your plutonium, making sure that it's powering the DeLorean. Oh boy. Okay, that's awesome. The other thing is we're about to build a hoverboard, which is just, that's just icing on the cake, right? At this point, to be able to build a hoverboard is just icing on the cake. These are little extra, these are almost your rewards for making it through the build, right? These are like little things Lego gives you, and they're like, okay, you're about to cross the finish line here. Here's some cool little things, little mementos from Back to the Future that we thought you would enjoy. Now, I will say the one thing that is a little disappointing is that we are building a hoverboard right here that is, it's kind of big for the minifigures. It's really big. It looks more like a huge surfboard compared to them. So this is in scale with the car, but not with the minifigures that could have used it. It would have been great if they had had the foresight to have included a minifigure scale version. I guess it didn't cost out. They didn't want to print the thing or something. I don't know. But that would have been nice. That's kind of my one knock on the set. Why not just do that? Because this is great and it's going to be a lovely display, but it won't be functional for the Marty that you get, which is a shame because he's in his Back to the Future 2 garb. So that's, I guess it's foolish of me to think that they're going to cater to the minifig and not to the actual scale of the model. At the same time, I think I have a right to have expected that. All right, so here is our hoverboard sticker right here. It's really nice. The one thing that you'll notice is there's no Mattel logo on it. This is something that continually gets left off because most companies that make it aren't Mattel. Of course, that's always going to be something that haunts Back to the Future merchandise because, since Mattel didn't, since that's, Mattel's trademark or whatever, no other company has the right to put a Mattel logo on it. So that's, let that be a lesson to future movie makers. You want to be careful about that kind of product placement, that kind of company placement, because you're going to end up restricting in the future what people can do and what they can't do. Now, Mattel did make a replica of the hoverboard. It was drastically overpriced and all that, just like a lot of their replicas were at that time. But I didn't care enough to get it. It was nice, but like I said, it was a little overpriced and a little gimmicky for my tastes. And so that's the only one you can get that includes that logo. So if that matters to you and you need the 100% screen accurate, you can do that. However, for other replicas, I'm sure that people make aftermarket decals that you can just put right over whatever they had to put, whatever fake detail. Probably, if I had to guess, because the aftermarket scene is so vital with Lego, or really more like rebuilt kind of Legos, is so vital, and the mock community is so vital. I think that what we're going to end up seeing is people will probably have a custom decal that you can print right off and put a Mattel logo on this, and it'll be in scale and all that if you want to. If it's something that matters to you, I do not care enough. I really don't. So I don't see how that could possibly benefit me in any way, having a Mattel logo on this hoverboard. And just for fun, we're gonna have a little fun right now. And here is Marty on his gigantic surfboard hoverboard. But you know what? It actually works in a funny way. I don't know. It looks okay, I guess. As there he is carrying around his hoverboard. Look at this. It's bigger than him. Now, this is cool too because you can actually then store the thing in here. So if you want to set it in there, there isn't anything keeping it there. You're just literally setting it there. So and there you go. All right. I'm going to fold this down. It's going to keep our plutonium in place. And didn't know it at the time, but bag 11 is actually quite vital, I guess, to finishing up the wheels and the hood. Yeah. So check this out. Whoa. Just like a real DeLorean, it actually opens up like a spaceship. So hard to believe, but indeed they did do it. All right. We have all this stuff. And as I empty these out, you're actually seeing not just the actual parts for the hood and the wheels and all that, but you're actually seeing the alternative pieces as well. Yeah, they do. There's a gimmick for that, and the gimmick already works, but there's no wheels on it yet. So that's really cool. Really pleased with that. So it's amazing how feature laden this thing is, and it actually, you know, everything works. Every now and then I feel like Lego does features that weren't worth the trouble. Like the Batman 89 Batmobile. The wheels turn as you turn the steering wheel, and I had to do all this complicated stuff to make that work. Truthfully, I could have cared less if turning the steering wheel, made the tires actually turn. And I ended up feeling at the end of it like that was kind of a waste of my time. So I'm glad that there wasn't any kind of gimmick like that. They were too busy trying to make all the other actual cool gimmicks that this thing actually does. They were trying to make those work, and that's what I like. I want those movie accurate gimmicks. Lego should have focused more on doing I don't know, maybe like some kind of grappling thing or something from the 89 Batmobile, or maybe even giving us the shields that Batman calls on. So you have different wheel wells that's going to make it different versions throughout the movies. Lots of different stuff here. And some of this, you're looking, you know, what's some of these sandy colors? Well, some of this is Back to the Future 3, where Marty and Doc rigged it up, you know, in the past. So they had to use wood and, you know, cast iron or whatever. So a lot of fun variety here in the pieces. I'm just trying to, there's actually quite a few pieces here because so much of it is the customization stuff. So I'm trying to just make it more manageable so that I'm not hunting down pieces all day and you guys are having to sit there and wonder what on earth, you know, why is this taking forever? Here is one of the only printed pieces in the whole set. It's really good stuff. Glad to see an actual print. It seems like it's been too long. That's one thing, like I said earlier, fans, we're going to continue complaining about it in an 18 plus set. Why are we applying stickers? Please, Lego, just print the stuff. At the same time, though, I see quite a bit when Lego does print it, that because they're in a mass production like level of printing, that sometimes they print the stuff completely crooked, and that you would almost rather yourself just go ahead and try to, you know, try your luck putting the sticker on. You could maybe possibly do a better job, because let's face it, there's going to be a lot of little problems when you're trying to print something in a mass production situation. So maybe we don't want them to print everything. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to have to think that one over. There might be more of a valid reason than I'm giving it credit for. Okay, we start out by continuing those little drum lacquered silver pieces and making a slope for them to continue from. And we're just going to complete that slope. And we do this twice, so we make 2 of them. All right. That is actually mounted to this little peg here. And it's a peg, not a stud, that comes out right there. And that goes in to this, so it's a very specialized little mount for that. So you can just put it on there and thread it through, and you got it. Now what's interesting is you get some flex on this, so I don't know what the point of that is necessarily, but you have a little bit of flex there that to me would just be frustrating a little. But maybe it's supposed to be like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a crucial detail I'm forgetting. I'm just going to mount it to the other side real quick because I don't honestly have enough room on my table right now to turn this back around and show everybody. It'll take forever. Okay, you'll just have to trust me that it's like that on the other side. All right. Okay, now we've got that on there. We're going to do a little more to the back. And this is going to be it's looking like it's going to be anyway, the holder for the license plate. Now this is important because the license plate changes throughout, because of course if you're going to travel through time, you don't want anyone to be any the wiser. So the license plate does change. And that's one of the things that they offer for customization options. They're definitely offering screen accurate changes. And so you get several stickers. You get 2 different stickers for the license plate. And those will be some of the last stickers we have to apply. Okay. I think it's interesting what they've done with the container for the license plate here, or at least the place where you're going to mount it. All right, you just kind of sandwich that in like that. And we're going to get a sloped black piece. And a 1x2. Like I said, lots of pieces in this bag, so it's taken me just a minute to find things. I'm not used to that because it was really easy to find the stuff in the earlier bags. Oh, I think I did something wrong. I think I got the wrong slope, so let me try another slope here. Okay. All right. Had a little technical hiccup there. Firewall, can you still see the video and hear me talking? Because I had a little brief technical hiccup there. Just making sure that I'm still live streaming and everything's still coming across. Okay, good. Because I've had I've had a couple of unfortunate little moments where I was live streaming and I went back and looked and realized that I hadn't captured anything. And I'll tell you what it is. It's because I'm live streaming. I'm just using my iPhone to live stream. And when you do that, if you, at least with the iPhone, okay, I don't know if this is true for anything else, but with the iPhone, if you click on a notification, it has the potential to, when you return from that notification, to maybe possibly stop recording at all. So you've got to be careful when you do it. And if it's if you've got to get the notification, okay, but then, there's a good chance that maybe, just maybe, that you cut out completely. So I'm glad that wasn't the case. All right, so we've got the back in there. I have to adjust my light to where you can actually see the back a little bit better. I'm glad that this is smaller than the Batmobile because it become a nightmare trying to keep the Batmobile. Of course, I wasn't really live streaming at the time. I was just doing a time-lapse video. Time-lapse is fun, but I'll be honest, it's pretty aggravating. Time-lapse is... I don't know. I just feel like you go on and on and on forever, and then when you see it at the end, you're like, well, it was okay, I guess, but the payoff doesn't quite seem worth it, and it doesn't really capture your experience building it. With a live stream, you can almost kind of live journal, right? You're kind of logging a little bit, just your experience with the build. So maybe like when we're old, one of these days, we can go back and relive building old Lego sets. It'll be like our VHS tapes. We're putting them in. Do you remember this live stream? Yeah, I remember this. I can't believe YouTube still had it on here after 50 years. The grandkids be making fun of us for talking about YouTube. YouTube, you know, like none of the cool kids will have used it. Like, shut up about YouTube, Granddad. You don't know what's good. Yes, I do. I used to be the coolest streamer on the block. Call of Duty now means I have to go to the bathroom real bad. So there you go. That's a free corny joke of the day for anybody who watches this stream. You needed a little. You needed to be. Yeah, back to bed, Grandpa. You don't. Let's see about that Call of Duty. Let's see about that. Oh, Grandpa, and your Call of Duty and your GTA Online. You don't. Grandpa, calm down. You know now that we're all playing it in VR. What is it in Back to the Future 2? Marty is playing the old arcade machine, and the people start making fun of him, and they say, look, he's using his hands like a baby toy. So maybe that is the future. Maybe we just don't know it yet, right? Maybe that's our destiny, to be made fun of by the younger generation. TikTok, what is the TikTok? Yeah, TikTok, that's right. All right. Okay, so we had to repeat this step twice, and so I just went ahead halfway through and started doing the other one. Let's see. Then there's one more little part we have to do. It's one thing about it is I have an eye appointment here in a couple of days, and building like these long build Lego sets and then editing regular videos, because, you know, of course I have other videos that are going up, wreaks havoc on your eyes. And for me, after I get done with this live stream, I think I'm going to take a little break from the phone for a while, because I can definitely tell my eyes are very, very, very much tiring out, not focusing quite as well. And usually that's remedied by by a break from it or whatever, but it's certainly inconvenient when you're trying to put this stuff together. Yeah, thank you. That's we all have to make sure that we do that, especially as we get older. It's funny, I really do blame smartphones, and really myself, because of my reliance and use on them, for hurting my eyesight over the years. Because, you know, I've always had astigmatism in one of my eyes, but the other was always, great, so I could always compensate for it. Never needed glasses, anything like that. And as soon as smartphones came on the scene throughout my 20s, by the end of my 20s, I needed glasses pretty badly. So it definitely made a difference. It turned out it wasn't video games that were going to destroy your eyes like our parents told us in the 90s, the 80s. Nope, instead, it was smartphones were the real threat. This is great. The small screen, trying to look at that. Even me getting the larger iPhones over the years and thinking, okay, well, I can cheat this by getting the larger screen. No, it wasn't enough to prevent that kind of strain. Look at that. All right, we got the thrusters back there so that baby can hit 88 miles per hour. Look at that. Great stuff, great stuff. Wonderful. Okay. Now, from here, I've never seen Lego do this before. The manual talks about choosing your favorite, and you have the different options. My guess is hardly anybody is going to go for Back to the Future 3, although I love Back to the Future 3. In some ways, it's still my favorite Back to the Future. Oh, yeah, Speed Champions. Yeah, I like Speed Champions. I don't, I don't own any of them, but I think just as a car and, just as anybody who appreciates cars, what Lego's doing with Speed Champions right now is something that I'm surprised they didn't already do like a long time ago. Because Speed Champions is taking these iconic designs and putting them in they finally found the right size, the right level of detail, the right price point. It took them years to figure all of this out. And you've got to imagine that Lego, I've always heard anyway, has the biggest bank of market research that you could possibly imagine. They're the ones that are analyzing their own. They've got analytics, out the wazoo. They're constantly looking at what sells and what doesn't. And finally, Speed Champions. They finally, yeah, that Optimus Prime set. I'm really looking forward to because, well, I'm really curious as to what it's going to be. Some people have described it as a movie set, like movie Optimus Prime. And if that's the case, I would love the Dark of the Moon Optimus Prime design, which ended up being my favorite Optimus that they did in the movies. But I think it would be much smarter of them to just make it the most classic Optimus Prime that you possibly can, like G1 all the way. Don't worry about trying to replicate a movie or something, because I think that's going to be more iconic. That's going to stand the test of time, unless this is the first Optimus in a series. And if that's the case, well, yeah, have at it. We'll do different Optimuses and just kind of go from there. The price, I hope the price is reflective of its complexity and its size. I hope that if it can really transform, which will be one of the first times ever that we've had a true, actually able to transform Lego set without having to rebuild anything, because that's what the rumor says. That you won't have to rebuild anything, that you won't have to disassemble it. You will just literally be able to transform it like a transformer, like a figure. I hope that the price is indicative of that level of complexity and engineering and size. Of course, you hope it's sizable. You would hope that for that price, Optimus is very large and extremely detailed. I hope. But we'll see. We'll see. It could be something. Could be something that's truly great. It could be something that is a little lackluster. That's true. That's true. Yeah, there's a lot of money in kind of placating the masses, the general masses, to make sure that it's a prime they want to buy. But like I was saying about Lego and their analytics and their market research, you better believe that they've probably asked Hasbro and partnered with them in saying, okay, how well did the last insert however many Optimus Prime sell, and show me your data on that. Which one is your top? And maybe that's where they could figure out what to make this one like. Now, honestly, if I if I could give my 2 cents about what the finest, like the best compromise they could ever do would actually be, well, that's easy. Just do the Bumblebee design, the Bumblebee movie design, because that's so G1 that no one would care, that it was a movie transformer. Just do that. Everybody would love it. Everybody. I mean, I'm one of these people that think if you don't like the Bumblebee movie, that I'm not sure what else they could have done to have placated you. I'm one of those people because I loved the Bumblebee movie. It probably was the best intentioned and best spirited Transformers film that they've done. That's why I was a little disappointed to see Travis Knight wasn't sticking around. I don't feel like they valued Travis Knight and his vision very much. because that's a real shame, because I think that I think he ended up saving Bumblebee over because he pushed back against all the connective tissue that they originally wanted. They originally wanted a lot of references to the other three movies, and they wanted it to all be compatible with it. And Travis Knight was apparently the guy that was like, no, let's move away from that. Let's do more G1 stuff. This is what people want. And that's the voice that I wish could have stuck with Transformers and had been the new kind of Michael Bay figure. But, it didn't do well enough for him to earn that clout, and that is such a shame. And Travis Knight is a brilliant director. He also directed the incredibly moving Kubo and the Two Strings, which is a beautiful stop motion feature. If you've not seen Kubo, I highly suggest it. I was moved to tears. The movie was incredible. It's one of my favorite animated stories that's been told in decades. Travis Knight's a real talented storyteller. I would be 3 times as excited for Rise of the Beasts if Travis Knight were attached. He is not, but there's still good talent attached to that movie. So Stephen Caple, I think is his name, should do a fine job. I think he'll do a fine job. But I don't know. The producer of the Transformers movies, he's kind of a mess. Bonventura, he's I don't think he has the best intentions for the brand at heart. So not sure if there's ever going to be I don't know if we can ever see a sustainable Transformers movie future the way that we should. Ah. Well, that didn't fit together the way I thought it would. All right. Let me get this in here a little bit better. Okay, I think that what I was trying to do was I was trying to shove in the hood, and it's not supposed to shove in all the way. I think it's supposed to just lay there so that the hood can then come up pretty easy. There we go. And it tucks right there. That's what it is. That's what it is. Well, I did it again. I really like the slickness of the hood here. There's no studs on it or anything. And I'm one of these people, I don't mind a bunch of studs in the Lego builds. Some people can't stand it, but I'm actually good with studs. But it's great to see them do something so accurate. And yeah, studs can sometimes, well, the only time that I've ever had something break is I was trying to disassemble something like hastily, and because I had moved it like after a big move, and I was trying to like wedge a piece in. And then there was one time when there was Lego staircases are kind of brittle because they're very thin plastic for a large piece. And I've broken some Lego staircases trying to disassemble them before, but for the most part, it's almost like not really a thing necessarily. Like it's kind of just not. I don't know how else to put it. Like it's not something I would ever worry about. So as funny as that is, that's my explanation. It's just kind of, I never think about it. Not even once. Not even once. All right. One thing I'm going to do is take out the hoverboard. Not that, I don't know if it really made a difference or not. I'll just stick it back in for now. All right. All right, I think I know what I've done. Oh my. I think I had these on upside down. I believe. So, I don't know. We'll see if that's what I did, because well, what do you know? I want to show something though, because this to me is a misprint in the manual. I want everybody to see this real quick. Everybody, I think this is a misprint. Over here it looks right, but you see this over here? No, it's not a misprint. It's just an illusion. It looks like this is the bottom and then they stick out from the bottom with those pieces. But this is actually the pieces jutted beside of each other. So I looked at that and thought that was the way that they wanted. Oh my gosh. So mystery solved, I guess, right? Oh boy. But I just kept thinking, what's going on here? Oh, that'll be something to look back and laugh at, I guess. Hey, it's the hazards, man, of live streaming. You never know. You never know. You make yourself look like a total fool. All right. So we have this, and it's the license plate. What's interesting is their choice to do transparent. That's interesting. Then we have two different license plates. We have out of time is the one that it's asking us to do right now. How much you want to bet that every major city, that it's almost impossible to get out of time? Like as a custom plate, like somebody's already got it. I don't even know if you can. I like the old 80s California license plate design there. Nothing was left to chance with the details. Like, I remember my mom, she had a custom plate, and it was an ordeal to get it. And very much in demand. You had to pay, too. It was a way to raise some extra tax revenue, I suppose, for the city. But yeah, it was custom plates. It was like you had to know the person who wasn't going to do, like, the one you wanted anymore, so that they could, like, you could be there to pounce on it as soon as they let it lapse. It was like a crazy thing. Honestly, I wouldn't want a custom plate because, I don't know, some crazy person, like, could hunt you down a lot easier, right? It makes you a lot more identifiable. So, I don't really, maybe that's just me being paranoid, but I don't want somebody to, like, be able to know for sure that it's me just by looking at the plate. I'm not planning on doing a hit and run or anything, but at the same time, I'm just kind of like, do I really want to be, the one guy that has that particular plate, and then everybody can be like, oh yeah, that was him that ran that red light. Not that I plan on it, but what if I do something accidentally like that? Okay. All right, that looks pretty good. I can accept that. I was watching this guy. He was live streaming on YouTube. He was putting together a Lego set, and he spent most of the time putting on the stickers. Real weirdo. Do you think he's sick? Do you think he's got a problem? Yeah, I think he does. I know people like him. They're all in prison. They're making license plates in the prison. There's never ever going to be a better license plate prison gag than in Batman the Animated Series when the Penguin ends up going to jail and having to print the Batmobile custom plate. I think it says "one bat for you," which is apparently Batman's canonical license plate number somehow in Batman the Animated Series. So I'm sticking to it anyway. To me, that's serious continuity. All right, a little bit more of that extra detail on the back right there. I almost said techie bits. Stopped myself right at the last moment. A bit higher up there to make it a little more obvious what I'm doing. And get a little grate right here. Nice. Put that down there. Bring the light over a little bit, and then that'll shed some light on the situation. There we go. Okay. Now, I think we're doing the top of the little fusion reactor that goes in the back of it. All these little extra details. I've always been mesmerized by the way that the fusion reactor looks in the original Back to the Future. It's really just a beautiful sight. The way that they managed to make it look like just a jumble of stuff, but there's still intentional design things going on. It's really beautiful. That's always the best kind of design work to me, when you design something purposely to make it look thrown together. But if you're a good designer and if you know what you're doing, then you're going to give a lot of love and care to make sure that there's an elegance to the randomness. Of course, we utilize our one and only printed piece for the top of that, and that's where I thought it was going to go, but I didn't want to make myself look like an idiot by saying it if it wasn't really where it was going to go. Come on, snap in. All right. This thing's awfully solid. I can pick it up and nothing goes flying or does anything weird. It's a very solid piece. Definitely say that, because I'm currently manhandling the thing to try to get it to stick onto these studs. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. I'm sure it's going to end up being something incredibly obvious, but I'm not having any luck getting it to stick. Okay, what am I doing? Left out one little part. Don't do what I did, kids. You got to put this little disc in there, or else the top of it won't be high enough to clear the obstacles in the back, and that will keep it plugged in. Don't get excited like I did. Decide that you're going to throw caution to the wind and just build as fast as you can. It was a recipe for disaster. There we go. Snug as a bug in a rug. Okay. Intended for ages 18 and up, I think. Let's see. Yes, 18. That's crazy, isn't it? As hard as that is to believe. But Lego is making a killing on these 18 plus sets. It's a whole new ball game for them as they really start to invest heavily in the adult only market for really complex builds. I guess it's just what people want, and it also represents kind of a change in the market as Lego begins to realize that a dramatic amount of their core buyers are actually old people like me. Yes, old people. So their products are, even though they're continually trying new things for kids, it seems like their biggest swings that are actual hits are the things they tried to do to appeal to adults. Those are almost always working, like the Lego Botanicals collection. And then you have things they're trying for kids, like Lego Video, that are faltering. So it's definitely feels like that Lego has a better understanding, at least, of the adult market right now. Whereas with the kids market, they're trying to compete against app experiences. And no toy company wants to try to do that right now. Like, no one. It's the bane of toy companies' existences in 2022. It's mighty hard to compete against Fortnite and TikTok. You know, people don't think kids are on TikTok. You're crazy. These companies don't care at all about what age their users are. They care enough to comply to where they can avoid fines, as Google had to pay massive ones about YouTube. But they don't have any kind of moral obligation about it. They just they treat the kids as dollar signs. And market it to the kids. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. This line out here. Go. Maybe that got it lined out a little. Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. That wasn't attached all the way. Yeah, thank you. Good looking out. It's hard to get a grip to actually get this stuff attached. Okay, so in the original Back to the Future, in the clock tower sequence, you have Doc Brown and Marty trying to get the DeLorean to be able to harness the power of a lightning strike that is historically significant in the town. And this is it. Yeah, it just looks like it's popped out a little because of the way that it's built. So it kind of just has a ridge. It kind of looks like three sections, you know, they're just kind of, it's a funny thing, but it's one of those, I guess, it's one of those concessions you make when you're trying to simulate something in Lego. Okay. Yeah, me too. I have no idea how people do some of these things. Like, it's crazy what they do. And you can see that you've got kind of the shepherd's hook right there. That's meant to harness the lightning from the final dramatic scene, or the final action sequence, I guess, of the original Back to the Future. So it looks awesome, but I'm definitely not going to display it like that. I mean, that's cool that they have that option there. That's terrific. I'm glad that they do, but it's not really for me. I'm not going to have the hook on there, I don't think. For one thing, that takes up a dramatic amount of real estate, right? That's like on a shelf. You've got that big thing protruding. And I mean, what are you gonna do with it? You're gonna have to buy a larger shelf or something. I don't know. It just doesn't make good sense to me to display it like that. So I'm not going to. All right, time to get our rubber tires and our wheel wells right here. Look at that. There's one. We're gonna do this 4 times. Might as well do it all right now. And that depletes our bag of extra pieces. You know, that's a good question. And we're going to find out in just a moment, because honestly, there's not a lot of pieces left, like in the whole set. So I don't think it's actually going to take a whole lot of pieces to swap it. I think it's just going to be a real kind of minimal sort of thing, which is good. Now, the wheel wells, if you want to swap it out to Back to the Future 2 or 3 or whatever, I think the wheel wells do have to change. So it would involve me taking the wheels off and switching out the wells. But I really do think that some care has probably been taken to make sure that it's not a dramatically, it's not just, you know, an awful process to go through. So I do think that they've made sure that it's a pretty easy thing to do, pretty fun, just a transformation. Now, if Lego were a different company, could you imagine them releasing 3 variations? I mean, that would be horrible. But I'm telling you, other companies, they would jump on that in a heartbeat. But Lego, no, I actually think this is a sign of goodwill to the fans. That, you know, hey, buy this one. We're not going to sell you 3 different variations of Doc and Marty minifigs. We're just going to give you Back to the Future 2. We're just going to do the middle road. And you build it the way you want it. So God bless them. Definitely didn't have to do that, but they did. So we have actually more print pieces. Earlier I said that one was the only one. No, not quite. There's this as well. And it's just the wheel well prints. So they were all turned over to where I couldn't see on the other side, and they all have that same print that we looked at earlier with the wheel well. And so that gives it that little extra bit of detail. Kind of just sets the whole thing off, I think. Oops, wrong side. Yeah, got some little hubcaps going there for the wheel well. Very nice, very nice. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Now, time to attach the wheels. And to do this, we may have to lock it back into the upright position. There we go. That's what you were asking about earlier, is can it do that? Yes. And so now we just have to take the orange. We just have to put these in the orange spots. There we go. You know, I wouldn't either, but the Lego elastic bands that they use, they're good. Like, they're really good. I have mechanisms that were used with those things, and they're more like some kind of synthetic, like they're a blend. And those things just don't break. It's crazy. I wouldn't either if it was any other company, but it's definitely a Lego thing. All right, and now it's time to do the display. I don't want to call it a stand, actually, because it's not really a stand. There's been times when Lego did create stands that actually functioned. that you could actually put the thing on. But this isn't one of those times. This is more like a display thing that goes in front of it, like a nameplate. So I think nameplate is the better colloquialism. Got it. And then the base just mounts right onto that. Not the base, but the plate. Yeah. Yeah, Lego flight stands. Wouldn't be bad. It was something like the SH Figure Arts flight stands. Wouldn't that be great? All right. Now we have a giant sticker that we need to put on this thing, on the display stand. And honestly, in my opinion, this is the worst sticker there is. These giant display stand stickers, because of their size, are very difficult to place. I've seen the king of Lego YouTube, Jangbricks, struggle like endlessly trying to get this right. So if the king of Lego YouTube, Jangbricks, if he's struggling, then I don't feel so bad. But because of their awkward size, they're very, very hard to get right. And you'll think you have it right, and then you'll have the other side almost stuck on, and it's a mess. So you kind of just have to forgive yourself and hope for the best. And you just hope it turns out right. I have to do this off camera. There's really no other way. All right, and although I didn't quite get it perfect, good enough. It's the Back to the Future DeLorean time machine. Beautiful, beautiful. Here it is, all of the details finished, everything complete. Now, we really just need to have a look at changing it, go doing the other versions. I'll go ahead and say that I'm pretty sure that I'm going to be probably keeping it in the Back to the Future 2 variation. It's weird. Back to the Future 3 is probably my favorite. But at the same time, Back to the Future 2 probably contains my favorite visuals. So it's weird. It's weird. I don't know what to make of that. But it's certainly very true for me. I'm curious if there's anyone else out there that has had this same experience where it's Back to the Future 2 isn't your favorite, but you like how the things look in Back to the Future 2 the best. I don't know. It's weird. For Back to the Future 2, we have a different license plate right here. And so I'm just going to go ahead and stick that on. These license plates are kind of tricky. They're not the most fun either, because the stickers don't size up on these pieces the same way. Usually you know about like what kind of distance you do, like an equidistant application on all the sides. Not so with these little pieces. The sides, there really isn't like distance on the ends, but at the top and bottom there's distance when you apply it. So I don't know how to better explain that. It's really weird. Something is definitely different about these little pieces versus sticker application for the rest. I wish I could put my finger on it, but I don't know. I honestly don't know what it is. Yes. Yes, we will definitely try all of that. What's the use in those features if we don't use them, right? Got to use those awesome, awesome features. Friends, excuse me. I am trying to straighten my sticker here. And the only method that I've found when I want to straighten a sticker and get it to look slightly better that actually works is I take the wax paper that the stickers were originally on and use it to lift off the sticker and then straighten it from there. That is the only way that I found that tends to work. So here's the license plate. So the doors can open. Now, they tend to fall down over some time, so I don't know if there's a good way to lock them in place. If there is, I've not found it. But with the doors open like that, and they just kind of flop down after a minute, you could probably build some kind of mechanism that doesn't. The hood, you just kind of put your fingernail in right here, and you just open, and you got the plutonium and all that on the inside. And then now that I built it right, it's a very smooth process to actually put it down. You can actually activate the light in there. There's a light brick that everything lights up on the panel. It's really nice because we all know that in the movie everything is like orange, and you can actually see if I open the door that even things like the flux capacitor light up in the back there. So that's beautiful. The action feature, controlled on the bottom with that handle. So we'll just hit that if I can get it in frame here and and then the tires flip up. And now you're in flight mode for Back to the Future 2. And the end of the original Back to the Future, of course. I guess we can be generous and mention that, yes, that's a thing too. So let's build the Mr. Fusion, right? From Back to the Future 2. Mr. Fusion, one of my favorite little gags in Back to the Future 2. It's an outdated gag. With Mr. Coffee has lost cultural relevance to a lot of folks. So I don't think Mr. Coffee is still an apt joke. Okay. Just like that. I think right now we're building the framing for Mr. Fusion. I remember Doc Brown, he's like throwing banana peels in it and stuff. It's like anything biodegradable. You put in Mr. Fusion and you've got power without the need for the plutonium. I love how that in the future you can toss out the crux of the entire story for being stuck in the past in the first movie. Is you can say, okay, it's actually not a big deal to get the same kind of power you would from plutonium in a nuclear reaction. You can just go and buy a tiny little nuclear reactor and you're good. Nobody even cares about it in the future. Of course, that nuclear power wouldn't catch on. And I think a lot of people did think that in the future we would be harnessing nuclear power, and it didn't really happen. I think Chernobyl and things like that probably kept people from ever looking in any further into the possibility of normalized nuclear power for the home, for the vehicles and things like that. For better or worse, we won't. There's not a domestic application for nuclear power. And like I said, some ways it would, it would be a better alternative, I guess, in some ways, and in some ways much, much, much worse, much worse. But you never know. It's not even been 100 years since we discovered that form of power. So who knows what'll happen in the next 100 years? Maybe there's other sources of power that we don't yet understand. Maybe one can save us from our current woes with the environment. That'd be nice, right? A little Deus Ex Machina. It shows up all of a sudden, energy problems are over. No need for carbon emissions, unlimited, clean, renewable. All those buzzwords that people like, right? Oop, I put it on backwards. I was too busy buzzwording. There we go. Okay, and we have a couple little triangular pieces. What I'm really glad about, and this would have been so cheap on the part of Lego, is what if you had to like disassemble stuff you had already made in this set in order to get enough pieces or to get the right pieces to reassemble Mr. Fusion. That so far it's not happened. So I hope it doesn't. That would be awful. I would hate having to like disassemble and reassemble, and it would just be a flop. It would be a mess. So I'm glad that so far anyway, not had to do it. Not had to do it. Okay. Then instead, what I will have to do, on the other hand, is I do believe that it is required that of course, I have to take out this assembly that I've got hooked up right here. That's just not, it's not going to be conducive to what I need to do. So you do have to unhook this because, you know, you've got to have a place to put Mr. Fusion. So we've got to take him out right there. Get him unhooked. Okay. And then I also have to take out this little assembly right there. This is just, you know, how you make an omelet. You gotta get all that stuff out of there. There's no, gotta crack a few eggs. Because you do, I was a little quick in what I was saying, indeed you do have to do a little bit of utilizing some of those other pieces. So it's not like you can get away with not doing it. I'm going to go ahead and take off the shepherd's hook too, because we know that that's not really going to be a thing. That was for the purposes of the plot in the original Back to the Future when they were trying to harness the lightning. Okay, I've got that pared down. Now we can utilize some of the parts like this. Now, what I foresee people doing is maybe buying some of these parts in the aftermarket or something to where they can kind of keep it assembled, some of these extra pieces, and that way they'll have them, and you can, it makes for easier swap out or something. I can definitely foresee people doing that. It's kind of a shame that you would have to, but you know, if you want it to be simpler, most people like me, it's not, what would I do, you know, by assembling the other ones? Well, there's another version of the DeLorean. It wouldn't do anything. So I don't foresee the need for me to do that. So somebody can, just not me. All right. So I've got to get this guy hooked up, and got Mr. Fusion here. Let me see. Do I need to? I think I've also got to disassemble this little guy right here too. I think has to come out. Come on, thruster. Stay in with your one stud connection. You can do it. You know you want to. things aren't going to be 100% smooth as you're converting it between the three movies, because you're going to do probably what I'm doing, which is you're accidentally wrecking part of the thrusters and things like that, and the boosters. You're kind of wreaking havoc as you go. So be aware of that. That could dampen your enthusiasm on constantly changing it out. And that's not something I plan on doing, but you can see how I'm kind of struggling and trying to get them just right and get them back down. So just know that as you change it out, there's a toll that you've got to pay. It's not always the easiest thing. All right, now that we have some of those pieces out, let's go ahead and put in Mr. Fusion here, or at least the rigging for Mr. Fusion. I think I've dismantled enough of it to where everything should connect. Yeah. Okay, so that's good and flush now right there. Everything's good. Now, the funny part is that if you remember in Back to the Future 2, Doc is throwing like banana peels. And you actually get a banana to throw in there. Just like, I think Doc is halfway through eating it in the movie, and he just all of a sudden throws the peel and what's left of the banana into the Mr. Fusion. So it's an absolutely priceless little moment. One of my favorites from Back to the Future 2. Then you have this giant pot, which is hilarious that there's just a giant medieval looking Lego pot right there. How funny is that? You have a little grabber arm, little red grabber right there. Grabs the side. It's going to go up. I remember that in the movie, the little red thing. Never could quite figure out what was going on. Then you're going to lay your banana in like this. And not only that, but we have a can of beer that we're going to throw in there as well. That's right. This is the mature Lego. This is what the adults like right here, right? Take this nondescript gold can. And oops, I put it on the wrong end. That's not going to look like a beer can. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to pop it onto this. And you've got your little, not identified as alcohol, but definitely it looks like a beer can. Oh, they actually have a printed, I'm sorry. They have a printed beer can top with the tab right there. That's what I should have used. All right, and that's going to go into Mr. Fusion as well, just whatever you can put in to generate your power there. Okay, not only that, but if you remember, the actual Mr. Fusion machine itself looks very much kind of like a souped up Mr. Coffee from the 80s. So is this the definition of retrofuturism, perhaps? Maybe this is that retrofuturism that people talk about in art and design. Like retro trash futurism, trash retrofuturism. I don't know. It's retro. So I was fascinated by the look of this thing. That's why I'm going to keep it in Mr. Fusion mode. I'm going to keep it in Back to the Future 2 mode because I've always, from that being the one that I saw on TV the most as a kid, I feel like my kind of ideal version of the DeLorean in my mind has the Mr. Fusion machine actively generating the power. To me, that's the super version of the DeLorean. You know, some people may scoff at that, but I don't care. It's your set. Do what you want to do with it. That's a great thing about the customization options, and usually we don't get a whole lot of customization options for these 18 plus sets. But this leads me to the last two sticker applications, and yes, it's Mr. Fusion, the brand label. You're going to put one on each side of this assembly. So I'm excited that they actually got the Mr. Fusion like label on there, and it's so funny. You know, it's a weird thing for me because I remember I was never very into a Lego model very much. unless it was minifigure scaled. It just didn't really appeal to me that much. And I thought, oh, well, that's nice. That's okay, cool. But I wanted everything to be minifigure scale. It wasn't until they finally tempted me in to that Ultimate Collector Series scale with the '89 Batmobile that I finally started paying attention to what they were doing and thought, man, this is fantastic. And after a while, the need for it to scale with minifigures kind of just went away. All of a sudden, I just was like, I don't care. How good of a model is it? How good of a representation is it? And you're only going to get the most premium detail if you go to that larger scale. So that was kind of freeing in a way. One thing it didn't free was my wallet. So it's currently on a chain straight to the Lego Corporation. I should start paying my house payment to Lego. All right, there's Mr. Coffee on one side. If you're curious, yes, this is me taking a long time to get decals on just right because I want it to be just so, that's how we do right here at Fanboys Forever. We get the decals just right. We don't want to, because you got to live with it then. And it's no fun when you've really screwed the pooch on a decal. Not fun. Then every time you look at the set, you'll be like, is that still like that? Like, yeah, it's right there. It looks just like that still. Remember that time I lost my mind and put that on sideways? And don't even get me started on the possibility of putting on something upside down. Then you'd be contacting the Lego company. Can I get another sticker sheet? This is the 8th one I've asked for in the last 2 months. And they'll send it, by golly. No questions asked. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Back to the Future. Oh, man. One of the greatest of all time. And that's why I think that this is going to be such a success for Lego. Back to the Future is a cultural phenomenon. Even today, all these years later, there's things about Back to the Future that can't be topped. I think some people believe that Ghostbusters might be the greatest example of genre bending ever. But I actually think it's Back to the Future. I think Back to the Future is the greatest example of genre bending because Ghostbusters, you can call it a horror comedy, action comedy, or whatever. And yeah, it did that better than any before, or maybe any since. But Back to the Future almost defies any sort of genre placement. You can't even really give it a mixed genre and say that you know what it is. Not really. Back to the Future is not really an action movie exactly. It's not really a comedy exactly. It's not really romance. It's not really drama necessarily. Back to the Future is sort of everything. It's kind of all of it, right? Oh, look at this little Mr. Fusion there. You open it up and there's the beer can and the banana. This is hilarious. Getting a little Mr. Fusion in Lego form. Yeah, this is nice. I'm a fan. This is nice. Okay, so now I just have to hook Mr. Fusion into the DeLorean right here. He can start working his magic right there. If I can fit it in, yep. And look at that. Mr. Fusion ready to roll. Okay, here we have a little fast fact in the book. This is funny. It says Mr. Fusion was created from a Krupp's 2023 coffee grinder. So indeed, they used an actual coffee machine. This is pretty funny, I have to say. Oh man, great. Okay. And that's it. That's our Back to the Future 2 version. As we can see, no kind of alterations had to be made to the hood. You just have a Mr. Fusion, and there's no shepherd's hook or anything back there. So it's this is probably the version that I keep in hover mode right here. And you have the little transparent parts on the back to keep it in that hover mode. So to me, this is kind of the way that the model will be displayed at my house. There is one more mode. I guess here's the funny part, okay? If I wanted this to be exactly accurate to Back to the Future 2, I guess I would have to put this on there, the year 2015 license plate. But I don't care enough about that particular bit of accuracy. I am way more all about the out of time license plate. I think everybody knows that from Back to the Future. So this is going to be my kind of little concession to where I make it the way that I want it to be. And to me, the DeLorean has to have the out of time license plate. And so I'm not even going to bother with the other. Forgive me if you were hoping to see the other plate. I don't care enough about the little orange 2015 plate. It was just a plot device anyway. So that's not a thing for me. Not really. Okay. Mr. Fusion. Now, if you want to do Back to the Future 3, hey, welcome back. Oh, that's good. That's good. It's fine. If you want to do Back to the Future 3, you have these pieces to assemble Doc and Marty's makeshift kind of reactor that they tried to put together in the Wild West. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to assemble it real quick. I don't think hardly anybody's going to probably keep it in Back to the Future 3 mode. I love Back to the Future 3. It's probably my favorite Back to the Future. But when I think of the DeLorean, that is not what I think of. So the movie just happens to have the best drama and some of the best comedy. And so I enjoy that aspect of it the very best. But I do feel like that it would be a disservice to the people, the fine folks who created this alternate mode, if I didn't at least check it out and see. Maybe I'll love it. You never know. Anything's possible. And so it's just fun to check out the alternative builds, especially because it appears that this one will be able to stay fairly independent from the rest. Like you could sort of keep independent right here. But the others, nah, I don't know if you could, that you can keep that fairly independent. But this one is more its own thing. So I'm curious how this is going to work. I don't know if we'll have to disassemble quite a bit of it, or if something's going to be maybe it's a little different than I think it will be, but we're about to find out. Yeah, I saw those. And I know that there are people who are really into them. And particularly, I think they're giving The Mandalorian a lot of love right now with those model kits. But I'm not dipping my toe. Have you? Have you gotten any of these Star Wars model kits? I mean, they're probably really fun. I don't know if they're mostly just snap together kits. I guess they're pretty much everything is, or a lot of things are now. Wood braces on here. There we go. And where you can lock that down. I mean, they look really nice. They're the kind of thing that I could see appreciating in value quite a bit later if people sleep on them and then they end up getting really big. Because that could happen. We've seen it happen with different import products like that, where all of a sudden it just clicks for somebody and they decide that they need to get into that pretty quick. So it happens. Nothing wrong with that. Right now, it would actually be an okay time probably to get into Dragon Ball Z figure arts collecting, because they're redoing so many characters and filling in so many gaps. So yeah, being able to finish those kits out the way that you want to finish them out speaks to a level of customization and a level of fun that you really don't get with other products. Honestly, that scene, the model kit scene, is always going to attract a little bit more of an artistic kind of consumer. someone who wants a personal touch, someone who, is doing the airbrushing, someone who's doing the dull coating. And to me, that is really fun. All that stuff is really fun. I don't know how to use a airbrush very well. Oh, no, that's what I like right there. Yeah, the Clone Trooper example is a really good one because there's so many variations of it. You can army build those, and that could get expensive, but you could literally customize it into the clone army that you have in mind. And that's a big thing for a lot of people to know those specific decals, those specific customization bits, those particular call signs and numbers and things. Color variation is huge. Phase 2 clone troopers versus phase 1. Just lots of fun that you can have. Yeah. Man, I remember when I was a kid getting model kits for like Batman Forever. And they were from Revel, I think. And clearly not intended for me. They were definitely aimed at an older audience. And they were just glue together kits. They really were. They were just glue together kits. And man, not only were they difficult to glue and hold together, and we had to get mom or dad to help us glue all that stuff. And so that was hard. But not only that, but there was also a tremendous amount of sharp edges that cut us. Oh, no, that's nice. Who would have thought, right? Who would have thought? And that's something that you could easily do with a kit like that. That's really nice, actually. It's very nice. All right, I'm going to have to partially disassemble Mr. Fusion, I think, because unless I'm missing something, maybe I'm not. Hold on. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do. Well, I'm a little confused because I think that what they want you to do... Oh, I've got it now. Oh, okay. All right. That's it. On Mr. Fusion, I got a little ahead of myself, and one of the cylinders over here, and I should have known this from the design in the movie, one of them is not transparent. One of them should be white, and I'm going to need the transparent part for Back to the Future 3's hood modification. So I've got to steal that and put the white one on. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? Man, can't believe I messed up on that. Well, I can believe it. That's a pretty minute detail for Mr. Fusion. All right, now I'm back in business. I'm back. Okay, so back to our little mini build here. This hooks on to this end. It's what looks like a fire extinguisher right there. Yeah, Book of Boba Fett is I love Boba Fett's new suit design. So to me, that makes it any version that they've done of Boba Fett's new look is highly desirable. Love the black with the suit. Big fan of Tamara Morrison, and that increases the appeal greatly for me. Huge fan. All right. This looks like, the fire extinguisher kind of thing where it's all rigged in there. Oh, that's great. And the amount of the complexity that it requires to build this little section, they've really gone out of their way to mimic all of the weird tech stuff that Doc and Marty rig up to this, that Doc comes up with in his lab in the Old West. And you've even got a little bit of the strong stuff right here. How funny is this? How funny is this? All right, you've got to build that up a little bit, actually. And then I think you cap it off. Yep. Just like in the movie. Okay. Then you use that little grabber claw. Nice. Then you use one end of the shepherd's hook that you don't have to disassemble. They actually give you an extra shepherd's hook, so that's nice. How nice of that corporation, that multi-billion-dollar corporation Lego, to give us this half-a-cent plastic hook. God bless them. Truly a charitable lot. All right. Then you get to reuse some of the hoses from the first movie's design. And they even give you an extra that you don't have to, so that you don't have to disassemble your other one that you have laying over there. So you get this little extra. Then they don't give you any of these extra cords, so you're still going to need it anyway, so I lied. All right. Now, you got to use this as kind of a guide wire all the way around. Take this, plug it in there. Take this, and then you're going to plug this in. Oh, well, actually, you're just going to use the little grabbers to put it in on these. There we go. Voila. Okay. That looks good. And now, yep, we're ready to just mount those onto the top. Now, the thing is that in order to do that, you have to change a little bit of the construction of the top, just a little. And the way you do it, it's a little weird. You would have to take this, and with this top assembly, I'll flip this open to show you what I'm talking about right here. Yeah, those Star Wars kids, anything like that, especially when you've got a license, you're paying for that big time. Everybody see how these right here could be turned around the other way, and they could be on the top, those little teeth? Well, that is what you would do if you wanted to convert this to the Back to the Future 3 model. Honestly, for our purposes, I'm just going to lay it on the top and show you what it would look like, because it's the same exact thing. Same exact thing, because I'm not planning on, I don't want to have to disassemble that whole thing. Maybe I will later just for a gag, but here it is. This is what it would look like right here. You see they've got a little wood box, just like in the movie, where you've got the hook and all those little extra bits. And the other thing that you can do is disassemble all the tires, and you would use this white spoke, and you would also use this red here, and then you have the little hubcap parts, and those all look like this. You can see that right there, and that's what we're going to do to all the tires to get them to look that way, if you wanted to do that. But to me, it doesn't really seem like that it's worth your time as the audience or my time as the builder to disassemble all the tires, put them back on, and be like, hey, look, it has red tires now. How about that? To show you what the look would look like. This is basically it. I'll take it out of flying mode at the very least. That's the least I can do to make it a little more accurate, because in the past, in the Old West, they're not flying around. So you can see this is about what your look would amount to. The good thing about the Back to the Future 3 look is if it wasn't for the wheels having to do that, you don't have to disassemble any of your previous work back here with Mr. Fusion. So that's one of the best parts of keeping it in Back to the Future 2 mode, is that you can switch without hardly any effort between Back to the Future 2 and 3. So I can put this over to the side as like a fun little technical demonstration. And this is what's left. You did have to disassemble this from the first movie. And to me, it's just not as cool looking as Mr. Fusion back here. So why would I keep it in Back to the Future 1 mode? If you hate the sequel, sure, but I don't think there's a lot of hatred for the sequels to Back to the Future. I think there's a lot of love, definitely a lot of love. And the other thing you can do if you want to expedite your process a little, you can keep these, you can keep the other hubcaps and the other wheel wells kind of assembled together, and you can have those ready to go, ready to switch out, so that when you do want to put it in Back to the Future 3 mode, you've got it ready to roll. And they even have little extra pins for you. At least I think they do. Let me look it up. Yes, they have extra pins. So if you want to, you can actually take this, go ahead and put it in, and go ahead, and you can actually pin them together. And nope. Something like that. That wouldn't actually do it for this. So there's some way to where they would be a little. I think that it would work. Oh, yeah. It according to the instructions, I missed a trick. I missed a trick. What they do give you are these little studs. So you take a shiny one, put an orange. You do that 4 times. So let's just quickly build these up. Shiny one, orange topper. Shiny one, orange topper. And another shiny one with an orange topper. And once you have those, then what the trick I missed was that you're supposed to take the red hubcaps and you plug them into the bottom. And then sorry, you take the silver hubcaps and plug them into the bottom, and then you plug them in right there. And that makes them more like, the spokes that we, well, shoot, I still did it wrong. That's what you get for trying to rush, Jared. Stop it. All right. You plug it into the red, like I was starting to say. And then you take this and plug it in like that, okay? So you got to do that a few times. So you got to take this, once again, orange up top. Yeah, I don't have a problem with the studs because there's some great sets that have studs, but then every now and then you'll see like a Star Wars set, like some of those helmets. Like some of their helmets, like seeing so many studs kind of ruins the look of some of those, like their Darth Vader helmet. Like it's so there's so many studs all over it, and Darth Vader is supposed to have this sleek helmet. So I can definitely see why it's a problem for some folks. It's not the kind of thing that bothers me that much, and some models definitely need a little bit of grit. Like it kind of just makes it more interesting to look at. But at the same time, it's hard to look at this model and not appreciate how smooth the whole thing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But it's very nice to look at one so smooth that almost really does almost pass, Like it almost passes for just a standard model. Now, once you put those little studs in there, then these stick independently of needing anything to go through, but we're going to add those little spokes in there. And then these will be ready to roll for any time, literally ready to roll, for any time that you want to convert it over. And so that's why I'm saying that keeping it in Back to the Future 2 mode is completely ideal, because you can easily, once you have this pre-built, and if I put it in Back to the Future 3 mode, yes, I would swap out to the orange license plate, I guess. Like to me, that's a little more in line with Back to the Future 3. So now I've got all 4 of these, and you can just kind of, put them over to the side. And you can, if you want them, you got them. It'll be an easy, no frills kind of experience to just switch them out. So, shouldn't be a problem that way at all. We'll go ahead and give one last little look here. Oh yeah, yeah. That's that would actually be really fun. I have several figurized standard model kits that I've not got to build yet. That might be fun to start live streaming some of those. That's a really good idea. Really good idea. Do Doc and Marty here on the display stand, because that's really what the stand is really meant to be used for. It's Doc and Marty. You can put them right here out in the front, have you a Back to the Future display. Definitely, we've ended up with a few extra pieces from this build, but not all that many. It's kind of a sparse look of extra pieces. Here's your versions from the other stuff. Yeah, you can do like smaller 6-inch action figures would fit in it. And when I say smaller, and, you know, you're familiar with this, SH Figuart scale, you know, would fit inside this vehicle, I feel. Now, some of the larger 6-inch stuff, because truthfully, in the domestic market, 6-inch means something different than it does in the Asian market. In the domestic market, 6-inch is more like, you know, the figures are like 6.5 inches, which doesn't sound like a lot, but as you know, as an action figure enthusiast, as a model enthusiast, you know that that can make a huge difference. So that would be what I would suggest for it. Could you cram a Marvel Legend in there? Yeah, if it was one of the smaller ones, maybe. Yeah, you could probably get that in there more than likely. It probably wouldn't be too big of a deal. It would probably be a pretty simple matter, all things considered. Just for fun, before I go, I'll just show everybody what it looks like, or even if it's possible. Maybe it's not. Maybe I'm being overly optimistic about this. Here's our extra pieces right here. You don't get very many. Let's just let's cram a figure, and let's go with. You know, I put him in there before we had seats in, so I don't know if he'll actually still fit. But I did put him in there before the seats were there. He probably won't now that the seats are there. But you see, this is your domestic kind of figure, and it's probably not going to work. Yeah, I can already see that's not really a thing. Before the seats were in, he did fit. But like I said, you have a smaller 6-inch action figure, or really more like a 5-inch would probably be better. Honestly, I take it back from earlier. It's probably more of a 5-inch scaled thing. And then even something like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe Origins, I wonder, because he's a 5-inch figure, but he's so bulky. He's huge in terms of just the chest and everything. So even that, yeah, even though he's short enough, probably you can't do it because he's too big. So we're probably looking at more of a 5-inch situation, or maybe even a 4-inch situation, like a 3 3/4 kind of deal. Maybe some of your Star Wars figures fit in there. So maybe that would be a pretty good plan. But as it stands, I hope everybody has enjoyed this tremendously. At least for me, it's been tremendously enjoyable. This whole thing, building the DeLorean. I'm a huge Back to the Future nut. I have been for many, many years, ever since I was a teenager. And it just brought me great joy to build this set. What you're seeing in front of you is kind of the built components of it that you get. It comes with this wonderful little guide here. It's just a great set. I really don't have a lot of complaints about it. As I said earlier, I wish that Marty would have come with a hoverboard that would have been a minifig scale. That's the only thing I can say negative at all. And I hope you guys have enjoyed watching. So, as always, God bless you and yours. Be sure to like the video, subscribe if you can. And I'll check you out later. So, thank you, Firewall, for sticking with me. And you guys have a great day. Take care. God bless. Bye. Take care.